hearing introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam. Later, there is one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shrinvata Shraddhaya Nityam Grinatascha Svacheshtitam Nati Dirgena Kalena Bhagavan Bishate Hridi, or Kalena Nati Dirgena Bhagavan Bishate Hridi. Every day we have to hear Harikatha with faith. Shrinvatam Shraddhaya Nityam. You have to hear Harikatha with faith daily. Nityam. Grinatascha Svacheshtitam. You have to make this effort, and also you have to follow the instructions of that Harikatha. Then Nati Dirgena Kalena. Very quickly, in a short time, Nati Dirgena Kalena or Kalena Nati Dirgena, both are possible. Bhagavan Bishate Hridi. Very quickly, Bhagavan will appear in your heart, or will manifest. Bhagavan Bishate Hridi in your heart. So this we have to do as a practice. Now we have no interest, no liking, but by having firm faith that this is beneficial, like medicine, we don't like the taste, but we know the effect will be good. So like that we have to take daily. Then the more our disease will be cured, that ignorance of aversion to Krishna, then also the more we can get that taste and also realization of Supreme Lord. So we are now hearing introduction about discussion between Raya Ramananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So yesterday we heard that Mahaprabhu said this is external. You speak something further. Only when Raya Ramananda said that verse, Gyane Prayasam Udapasya Namantaeva Sanmukaritam Vartam something, Vartam, when you totally throw out process and also goal to attain impersonal Brahman realization. When you throw that out, you reject, and you start to hear Harikatha from pure devotee and act upon that Harikatha, then Supreme Lord, who is otherwise Ajita, unconquerable, or yesterday we heard unknown and unknowable, he becomes known and he becomes conquered by such a devotee who will practice this pure bhakti yoga, submitting to his will, serving him. Then he will appear. At this point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Eho hoy. Yes, I agree. Before he said, Eho bhajyo, age kohoar. Mahaprabhu asked, what is the goal of life? So when Raya Ramananda said Varna Ashram, then Mahaprabhu, that is external. You speak something further like this, but here he said, yes, this is. But still, please say something more. So the point is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching starts from this point and he is giving opportunity of this pure bhakti yoga practice to all. He came to this world with his personal associates to give us this chance that we can hear about Krishna from right source. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the beginning, there it is mentioned that Gaur and Nityananda Prabhu, they gave two gifts to the jivas of this world. Two gifts. What are these two gifts? Grantha Bhagavat and Bhakta Bhagavat. Scripture, SRIMAD Bhagavatam, and devotee Bhagavatam, means pure devotee realizer. There is no difference. Pure devotee is speaking Bhagavatam, actually, and Bhagavatam is transcendental sound. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said Bhagavat Shravan. You start hearing Bhagavatam. No need of other scriptures. They are meant for gradual progress. But I came to give Sadhu Sangha and Bhagavatam immediately, so that you can immediately start pure devotional practice. So this we have to accept. This is the gift of Mahaprabhu. So here further, yes, I will read again, although yesterday I already read, but it is very nice. The simple method is that one has to give up the arrogant attitude of declaring oneself to be God himself, the Aham Brahmasmi. That is by Gyan, impersonal Gyan, one will say, yes, I am supreme. So this arrogance we have to give up. One must be very meek and submissive and try to live peacefully, stane stitam. Wherever you are situated according to your nature, you should remain there, or you should go where Harikatha is spoken, that both meaning. Try to live peacefully by lending the ear to the speeches of the transcendentally self-realized soul who speaks on the message of Bhagavad Dharma, or the religion of glorifying the Supreme Lord and his devotees. To glorify a great man is a natural instinct for living beings, but they have not learned to glorify the Lord. Perfection of life is attained simply by glorifying the Lord in association with a self-realized devotee of the Lord. Here there is one note. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been formed for this purpose. The founder, Acharya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj, is himself explaining what is the purpose of ISKCON. This we should not miss. What is the purpose? Perfection of life is attained simply by glorifying the Lord in association with a self-realized devotee of the Lord. So this pure devotion to Supreme Lord is the purpose of ISKCON, not any other things. If there are some other things, that is not ISKCON. Sai Maharaj is a pure devotee. His mission is about pure devotion. If someone is not accepting this, then and doing something in the name of ISKCON, that is not actually ISKCON. ISKCON means only pure devotion. The self-realized devotee is he who surrenders unto the Lord fully and who does not have attachment for material prosperity, any kind, to accumulate more and more money, more and more followers, more and more sense gratification. More and this. This is not the purpose of self-realized soul. He is only serving Krishna, like you see in the life of Srila Sai Maharaj. By the grace of Krishna, he had in his hand so much opulence, so much followers, so much money, so much property, everything. But he never misused it for any selfish purpose. He used everything only for the service of Krishna. Because he is already on that platform, he is having taste of serving Krishna. Why he will want some lower taste? That is not possible for pure devotee. He knows this is the only happiness, only actual happiness, taste, is serving Krishna. They realize this. That is why there is no question of having any other desires. As we see, the whole Maya personified. She came to Haridas Thakur, I want to enjoy with you. He said, yes, okay, but after I will finish my rounds, then I can. So, but the point is, after 3 days, Maya opened. Actually, I'm Maya. I came to test you. Why he did not fall? Because he had higher taste. Why he will want some lower taste? So, but it is not so easy to actually come to this point, to have no any other desire except service of Krishna. That is on the stage of Ruchi, this will come. When you actually start to taste, direct taste the service of Krishna, then it is impossible to have any other desire. We are hearing during Kartik, the true worshipper of Harinam has got no other desire except causeless devotion to Krishna. Because of higher taste, not because of theory or intellectual or logic or no. Practically he's having higher taste. Material prosperity and sense enjoyment and their advancement are all activities of ignorance in human society. Peace and friendship are impossible for a society detached from the association of God and His devotees. The realized soul, they know this. As long as there are different centers of interest and everyone will expand that, you draw circles around, then it will be clash with self-interest with others. There will be quarrel, fighting, or if at all there will be any cooperation, it will be for the sake of selfish interests. And this will be only for some time. After that, also that will have to break and quarrel will be there, because that is not natural. So that is why we have this forest fire in this world, due to false egos and false interests and clashing, like rubbing two bamboo together, then fire will come. It is automatic. So this forest fire we can extinguish only by one way, when we give up all other desires except one, that is to serve Krishna. When one is situated in this, then he has no any more forest fire. He can live in peace and friendship. with all. But this is not possible detached from the association of God and His devotees. It is imperative, therefore, that one sincerely seek the association of pure devotees and hear them patiently and submissively from any position of life. Either you are Kshatriya, Brahmin, or Brahmachari, Sannyasi, or whatever, or Western, Indian, or whatever, man, woman, rich, healthy, sick, poor, anything. That is no problem. You just have to hear Harikatha patiently and submissively from any position of life. The position of a person in the higher or lower status of life does not hamper one in the path of self-realization. The only thing one has to do is to hear from a self-realized soul with a routine program, daily, or 2 times a day, or 3 times. Harikatha 3 times is standard, like Narad Goswami made. That is why in our mat, at least in Kartik, there are 3 Harikathas. Gurudev said otherwise that is standard, 3 Harikathas daily, but because so many other services like this, so the one at noon or in the afternoon is not like regular, but at least morning and evening Harikatha. For Matavasis. But if at least Gurudev said you should start having once in a week, or at least on Ekadashi, you start with devotees, Harinam Sankirtan, congregational chanting of holy name, and hearing of Shastra, you start. Then gradually you can increase. Routine program. The teacher may also deliver lectures from the Vedic literatures, following in the footsteps of the bygone acharyas who realized the absolute truth. So, you may not be realized soul, but you should hear and speak what realized souls are saying. That will purify your mind and the others also who realized, the acharyas realized the absolute truth. So this is there. What is the meaning of Shastra? It comes from the word shasan. Shasan means to discipline, to control, to discipline, but for your own eternal welfare, not like someone is having some slaves for his own purpose and he is controlling and disciplining. That is not meant here, but Shastra is to regulate us, to discipline us, to engage us in the service of Krishna for our eternal welfare. And for different levels of advancement, different instructions are there. So one can say both, that this is lecture, is not wrong, lecture or class, because Shastra wants to teach us about service of Krishna and how to engage in the service of Krishna. That is the purpose of Shastra, to regulate us, to attract us. And if there is Lila Katha, pastimes of Supreme Lord with his devotees, that is also meant to attract us to serve him. When one will see or hear about those, how devotees they are serving, then that attraction, then that desire will appear to serve Krishna. That is why Gurudev told, it is not always beneficial to hear the pastimes of Supreme Lord as the enjoyer, because then we will like to imitate. It is better to hear the pastimes of pure devotees, how they attained Supreme Lord. Then we will be inspired to follow them, to do as they did. Then we can also get the service of Supreme Lord. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended this simple method of self-realization, generally known as Bhagavat Dharma. SRIMAD Bhagavatam is the perfect guide for this purpose. Above these topics discussed by the Lord and Sri Ramananda Rai, there were still more elevated spiritual talks between the two great personalities, and we purposely withhold those topics for the present, because one has to come to the spiritual plane before further talks with Ramananda Rai can be heard. This point. There are topics for different levels. Shukadeva Goswami also did not start with Raslila. He started with first canto, second, all this, and Parikshit Maharaj was asking and was very eager to hear like this, to get to the transcendental platform, that transcendental understanding, and also that Supreme Lord has many forms and different kinds of pastimes, so we have to first accept He's only enjoyer, master of all. Then, when we are in proper understanding, means not theoretical, but on transcendental platform of being fully engaged in the service of Krishna, then those topics will come and you can get transcendental bliss by hearing. Transcendental bliss, not, oh, very nice story, I like very much, I enjoy it, very nice story. That is not the point. Some Muslims, I heard, they like to hear Aslila because very nice story. So that is not the, for the sake of enjoyment. That is not the, so here Swami Maharaj is telling, we purposely, it does not mean that he does not know those higher talks, but purposely, intentionally, for the benefit of conditioned souls, he purposely withhold those topics because they will misunderstand and that will be harmful to them. So real devotee who is a servant of Krishna, he is not himself enjoyer and he is not trying to provide enjoyment for others. He is servant of Krishna and he wants to engage others in the service of Krishna in a proper way, as it is done by self-realized acharyas, gradually, that is there. one has to come to the spiritual plane before further talks with Ramananda Rai can be heard. What are the further talks after this verse? About rasas. First, Shantarasa, then Dasya, Sakya, Vatsala, Madhurja, and then Radharani, all these topics. So how you can understand the rasa, which is eternal love relation with Krishna, unless you come to spiritual platform proper, giving up all material desires and illusions and this material type of relations which are self-centered, selfish-centered. So if you don't come to that transcendental platform, then you will think that those relationships are like my relationships, material, man, woman, for enjoyment, all this. I will think like that automatically. So first one has to come to the platform of submitting fully to Krishna and giving up all desires, accepting his service. Then rasas will come, different kinds of rasas. We have presented further talks of Srila Ramananda Rai with the Lord in another book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. But there also is a gradual procedure of understanding and practicing. At the conclusion of this meeting, Sri Ramananda Rai was advised by the Lord to retire from service and come to Puri so that they could live together and relish a transcendental relationship. Means he should give up his job and come. So if God makes such arrangement, then it is possible. If we are really eager, very eager to dedicate ourselves fully for the service of Krishna, then he can make such arrangement that you are released from some other duties so that you can have more time for this kind of service. So Mahaprabhu said, you come. So then it was possible by his grace. By our own effort, for some other lazy purpose or something, that will not work. It has to come from there, and they want to engage us in the service, not in laziness, for the service. So we came to know, yes. Sometime later, Sri Ramananda Rai retired from the government service and took a pension from the king. King himself, after hearing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants Rai Ramananda should come to associate with him in Puri, then king, who was also a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, immediately gave him that permission. And not only that, and although it was not required, he gave him pension also. Now you get pension after working for so much time, and up to certain age you have to work, then you get pension. But here king gave at that time already. Rai Ramananda was not very old, he was young, but he got pension. Now also it is possible if we fully dedicate to Supreme Lord, because he is the only maintainer and sustainer and protector. If we are really very eager to engage in his service, then he can make arrangement in any station of life, in any age. He can make any type of arrangement he likes, if really we want. But if there is any ulterior desire of avoiding some responsibility or for some ulterior desire, then that is not. But you will see some people they get pension. Already they worked so many years and they came up to a certain age, they get pension. But still they will not engage so much or fully in the service of Krishna or nothing. So this is not the condition. Point is our desire, whether I want to engage myself in the service of Krishna or not external conditions. So they need not work, but they will not hear Harikatha more or chant more or like this. No, some other engagements they will find. Maya will give. So all the time there is engagement. If not by Swarup, if we don't want by Swarup Shakti, that is our choice. We are marginal potency, Tatashta. We can work under this boss or this boss. That we can choose. We cannot choose to remain without boss. That is not possible. It is possible for some time only. Like if you merge yourself into Brahman, then you think I have no boss, I'm boss. But that is not also fulfilling. But generally, marginal potency Tatashta Shakti has this choice. You want to work under Maya boss and get that sort of payment, salary, birth, death, old age, disease, suffering of these four things. Suffering at the time of birth, suffering at the time of death, suffering at the time of old age, suffering at the time of disease, and suffering at threefold miseries. Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, Adi. This is your salary. Monthly, daily, yearly, all the time this salary is coming. Suffering. Sometimes you get some mixed happiness, like you are not fulfilled. You cannot be fully satiated, fully fulfilled, because it is not touching yourself, not touching soul, and it is temporary. It is for some time. It is like when king before, when he had to punish someone, then he would grab by his head and put him under the water. And he cannot breathe, he's suffering. Then he will take him out and so this sort of happiness, relief from suffering, that we think as happiness. Then again put inside. And again up. But this is not positive happiness. That much salary we can get if we work for this boss. And all the time suffering. And if we take that kind of boss, Swarup Shakti, pure devotee, then we will work under his direction for the service of Krishna. There we also get salary. Prem don bina byartha daridra jivan das kori betan more deho prema dhan. You engage me as your servant, Supreme Lord, and for salary give me prem. Prem means unlimited bliss, and at every step you can taste. There is no any suffering involved. All the time increasing bliss, and at every step you can take, and there is no reaction. It is pure because it is natural. So this we can choose which kind of boss. So after he got retirement, Ramananda Rai, from Maya boss, he returned to his residence in Puri, where he was one of the most confidential devotees of the Lord. This was his job. Confidential devotee of the Lord. This job. There was another gentleman at Puri of the name Shiki Mahiti, who was also a confidant, like Ramananda Rai. Confidant or confidantes, they are very close friends or Sakis, their female friends. Confidantes, bosom friends, very near. The Lord used to hold confidential talks on spiritual values with 3 or 4 companions at Puri, and he passed 18 years in this way in spiritual trance. His talks were recorded by his private secretary, Sri Damodar Goswami, one of the 4 most intimate devotees. 4 or 3.5. Saretin John. Saretin means 3.5. Raya Ramananda, Sarup Damodar, Shiki Mahiti, and his sister Madhavi Devi. Because she's female, is half. That is only a way of expression. Because already before we heard, any position of life does not hamper one. Does not hamper. There are different kinds of services, but any service is service. If one is very sick, he cannot do any other service, but he can do Harinam service, chanting. So he will fully satisfy Krishna and he will be fully blissful. So like that, according to circumstance and necessities, different devotees in male bodies or in female bodies, they will have different services, but all services are on transcendental platform. If ladies are not allowed to give massage to the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or spiritual master, that does not mean that they are now deprived of service of Krishna or Guru. No, they are serving in another way, and they are getting same transcendental bliss as per their engagement, how they give by garland or any these services, Harinam, all this, there is no difference. But if we are not on transcendental platform, if we want to enjoy, then we will think, no, this is not right. It is partialism, or it is not impartial, it is wrong. That is only happening when we are on material platform. If we would be engaged in the transcendental service of Krishna under the guidance of bona fide Guru, such complaint cannot come. Impossible. Because you are doing your service and you are getting bliss from your service. And according to necessity of and lila in this world, so that others may not misunderstand, but once they will enter into Goloka, then this male person who was massaging the lotus feet of Gurudev, the same male devotee, he will be Gopi there. And this lady who never massaged the lotus feet of Gurudev but doing other services, she will become Gopi, and they are both Gopis there. So what is the problem? Only when we are having some ulterior desires on material platform, then complain and these discussions of discrimination is coming. But actually, pure devotees, Krishna, they are not discriminatory. Although there are differences of service, but they are not discriminatory. They are not discriminating. So for most intimate devotees, because they were all in Madhurya Rasa devotees. So with them, Mahaprabhu used to relish those topics. The Lord extensively traveled. We here also have this example. Mahaprabhu spoke these topics only with them four and in private, not in public, in front of all. The Lord extensively traveled all over the southern part of India. The great saint of Maharashtra known as Saint Tukaram was also initiated by the Lord. Saint Tukaram, after initiation by the Lord, overflooded the whole of Maharashtra province with the Sankirtan movement, and the transcendental flow is still rolling on in the southwestern part of the great Indian peninsula. Peninsula in Slovenian language is polotok. This is English word, peninsula. The Lord excavated from South India two very important old literatures, namely the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita, and these two valuable books are authorized studies for the person in the devotional line. The Lord then returned to Puri after his South Indian tour. Here it is in note that Brahma Samhita is summary of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, because there Brahma is bewildered. What I have to do? Who am I? Then he surrendered, then he got mantra, and he chanted that mantra, then he realized by the grace of Krishna, and from his own realization he spoke the glories of Krishna, and I am worshipping that Govinda Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Then everything was clear who he is and what he has to do. And Krishna Karnamrita is by Bilva Mangal Thakur. He was South Indian Brahmin, but he became attached to one prostitute. Daily he was going. And even there is a rule in Shastra that on the day of Shraddha ceremony, you should not cross the river. That is prohibited. But he could not remain. And not only that, on that day there was a very bad weather, storm. But still he could not check himself, so there was no boat to cross the river because of bad weather. So he was swimming, life-threatening situation, and he saw there is some object is there flowing. He took the help of that and somehow crossed. And then there was a big wall around the house of Chintamani, prostitute, and he wanted to climb over, and there was dark night and storm and everything, so he saw there is one rope there. He climbed by that rope and he fell down on the ground on the other side, and by that sound Chintamani woke up, and then she opened and said, "What you are doing?" And yes, also he was thinking when he was swimming in the river, when that floating object came, he thought, oh, Chintamani is sending that for me. She's so compassionate to me. That was his thinking. And when he saw that rope, he saw, oh, Chintamani left that rope for me. She's so compassionate to me. Now, when she opened, she asked, and he said, I came to you. And she said, but today is Shraddha day ceremony. It is prohibited to go to cross the river. And how did you cross? There was such a big storm and bad waves and everything, very dangerous. Then he said, well, you send that flying, that floating object. And she could smell, and she could also see on his body some those worms. The point is that was dead body, and there is some specific smell coming from that body, and worms they are eating already. So that was all over his body. He did not notice anything. So much he was for enjoyment blind due to lust, blind. And he also came to know that that was not rope by Chintamani, but one snake was going inside one hole, and if you pull, then that snake will try to hold inside. So somehow he climbed that snake, but otherwise that snake would bite him, he would die. But somehow it was, and he fell down. Then Chintamani saw, oh, if you would have such eagerness to get Krishna, instead of trying to get this, my body, which is made from bones and flesh and urine and stool and blood and all these things, if you would have such eagerness to get Krishna, his service, then your life would be successful. She told him. Then he came to his senses. He was awakened by this saying. And he said, yes, it is true. What I did. So then he accepted, because of this sentence, he accepted her as a Shiksha Guru. Whose whole life he was respecting her as a Shiksha Guru, because after this, he decided, yes, I will not remain here. I will go to Vrindavan for the service of Krishna. And he went, but because we are unable to all of a sudden, very quickly, to purify all our samskaras, habits, impressions, tendencies, all this is there. Although we know, like someone is smoking, he will think, yes, this is bad, I will finish, I will stop, but that habit is there, addiction. Like that we have this samskaras, so it is not all of a sudden. So what happened? He went to Vrindavan, and on the way he saw one beautiful lady carrying on the top of her head, she was married, water carrying, and he became attracted to her. And he thought, oh my God, again, this is happening. Because these samskaras are there inside. Automatically, spontaneously, it is coming when the object is there. So he went there to that house, and husband and this wife, they received him. They thought he's one sadhu. So they said, how we can serve you? Then he said, yes, I need one thing. Your wife should give me those hairpins in her hair. I require that. They did not understand why he wants this, but he's a sadhu, so they gave, and he put out his eyes. Because of this vision, I am ruined. So he put out his eyes. Our Gurudev said we should not try to imitate him. The senses are not bad in themselves, but wrong usage of the senses is bad. If for enjoyment, it is bad. If for the service of Krishna, it is good. So he just made this as an example. So then he was going, did not know where he's going. Then Krishna came to him and he took him by the hand and he was leading him to Vrindavan, because really in his heart he said, no more of these things. I want to serve Krishna. So Krishna will come to help if really we want. So he released him from that, and sometimes Krishna would release his hand, would not hold. But Bilva Mangal Thakur said, you can go away, you can stop holding my hand, you can go away, but you cannot go away from my heart. Already I imprisoned you in my heart, you cannot go. So it's such firm determination, really sincerely he had. So then again Krishna came and took his hand, and they came to Vrindavan, and with transcendental divine eyes he was staying in Vrindavan for 700 years. In 700, it's not fictitious. Everything is possible by the grace of Krishna. And he was seeing all Leelas and everything inside. He got transcendental eyes. And he wrote this Krishna Karnamrita, nectar for the ears. Karna means air. Amrita means nectar. Krishna Karnamrita. Krishna nectar for the ears. So this is very elevated also book. So Mahaprabhu got this book and said, yes, these are authentic books. They are to be studied by devotees. Hear them. There was another one, Surdas. He is also a very famous poet. He was also blind. But they disrespected him. They thought what he can see. He was singing for the deities. But in order to show them, Krishna made such arrangement that Surdas would spontaneously compose one song describing what is the outfit, means the dress of the deities on that particular day. Then they could understand, he can see. Although he was physically blind, but with transcendental divine eyes, he could see, and he described that song. Then they became sorry, and they felt we committed offense to great sadhu. So there is no limitation to devotees. There are many songs in our mat also, our Muni Maharaj, in Hindi. They are by Surdas. Hey Govinda Rako Sharana. Hey Govinda Rako Sharana. And that song, I forgot now, the Surdas, pure devotee, like blind, and Bilomangal Thakur. So the point is our devotion from Atma, from the soul to Krishna, that is beneficial, not external material acquisitions. But devotion is what we require, what we need, and when one can have that taste, then automatically all other desires cannot remain and no suffering is there then. So these books are authorized studies for a person in devotional line. The Lord then returned to Puri after his South Indian tour. This we'll have tomorrow.